Mark, do you have a favorite one-hit wonder?
I know you'd rattle them off. I could choose from there. Come On Eileen, is that one?
Yes.
That's a good one.
Dexy's Midnight Runners.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
Very good. Yes. We're doing just 1986 today, though, correct?
Yes.
So
Wow.
we will not be hearing that.
That was a hell of a year for
apparently.
those. I had that. I had Rock Me Amadeus on repeat on my Walkman.
I don't feel
Cassette.
like you guys, like, I'm a music nerd, but there are so many one-hit wonders each year that there's probably 30 of them.
Really?
That you just don't realize that they just fall to the wayside.
And a lot of them weren't really that much of a hit either, right? They were a fad for a time. Chumbawamba, right? Was that one?
Yeah. Well, that was a huge hit.
Right.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Barbie Girl.
Who
those
Let the
types of
Dogs
songs
Out? I
that
mean,
are-
those are terrible songs.
Yeah.
They were on the worst song bracket, I believe.
Yeah. Mickey by Tony Basil, also a terrible song, but still beloved.
Yeah. Still beloved to this day.
We might have that this weekend. Quarterback, Rickie.
Yeah. Exactly. And we're going to get into
Ricky,
here.
you're
Lose
so
that
fine.
fumble.
Yeah.
I did Ricky Don't Lose That Fumble in my keys to the game.
It's brilliant.
Thank
Brilliant. Before we get into Ricky.
Yeah,
and
I've already
Steve
heard
and
Paulie's.
the whole quarterback.
Listen, I've heard about 30 seconds of the show so far today. I already heard Paulie's brilliance, if you know what I mean. he won't live that one down anytime soon.
Let's start with the Clemson game, Matt, and just what really was domination by Syracuse in that game. I mean, they were the better team in all three phases. What impressed you the most? Maybe what surprised you the most by that performance last Saturday?
Well, just that they kind of backed it up. I think it wasn't a given that after the break that they would play as well as they did before it. So that was one sort of demonstration of it or example. You go right down the field just as you script and plan. That couldn't have gone any better on the opening possession. So if you have a onside kick up for the week at all, that's the time to do it, right? Had the onside kick backfired, at worst, you're just right back into a tie game a few minutes in, right? So it just lined up for them to play with the house's money a little bit. They could have been up 14-0. Clemson stiffened there to make it so it was 10, and then just kind of kept pouring it on, taking advantage of turnovers. I thought Cade Klubnik played very poorly, and Syracuse played great in every respect. So there was no fluke to it, and the fact they just kind of kept backing it up, I think each series was really pleasing to see.
How about the fact that not only did they go for the onside kick after that first touchdown, but then on that ensuing drive, as you mentioned, they ended up getting a field goal. They had an opportunity to kick a long field goal. It was fourth and I don't remember, 2 or 3, and instead of kicking a long field goal, they go for it. They convert past DeJounte Cook. They extend the drive. They get in better range, and then they ended up making the field goal. The decision to go for the onside kick, the decision to go for it on fourth down on that ensuing drive, what kind of message does that send to the players? And does that, is there a certain confidence that the players can take from that the coach believes in us enough to do, X, Y, and Z?
100%. The only thing I would say about that is, we tend to see just the games, and that's one big stage aspect of that mentality. But I think Fran Brown plays that with them all the time, about having the confidence, playing to win, swinging big, and that was an example of it, and it paid off where it matters on the scoreboard, and everybody saw it. Everybody across the country saw it. So for the players, it's like, wow, this guy really knows what he's doing. Or if we execute what we practice and what we preach here, then it's going to have the payoff and get results. So I think that was just such a huge – the fact they started that game 10-0. Now, they could have given it back, I suppose, over at some point. We could maybe be talking about that this week. There still would have been positives from making that show to begin with. And again, to me, it's just a total game changer that they go down there and get that win. And now you got to see, can it add to the next thing and the next thing.
Now, obviously, I think some of the wind got taken out of the sails of the wind and the team with the injury to Steve Angeli, but there is certainly some excitement still, with where they are right now. How much do you think this injury affects the bottom line of this season and what this team can be? Is it a subtle change? Is it a huge change? How much of a drop off is there between Steve and Rickie?
I don't think we've seen enough yet to know. I think we'll feel a lot more informed after this game. Let's see a whole week of preparation where you're the number one. What does that look like? How many more snaps do you get in practice? What leadership is called upon during the week? How well prepared was he by Steve in the first quarter or so of the season? I think Rickie's a better quarterback now than he was a month ago. Not that he's played a whole lot in between, but he's seen, Steve won the job for a reason and then demonstrated that to Rickie. So I think Rickie's that much better off for having witnessed that, for having watched film with Steve and all of those things. I will throw one thought out there. And obviously, if Rickie was as good as Steve or was better, he would have been the starting quarterback from the jump. So is there some fall off? Yeah, there's a fall off from 1 to 2 at any position. Quarterback, you tend to only play one and not rotate them. But I do think there's something to be said for everyone kind of understanding that, okay, look, we have other good players at other positions that if they just sort of step it up 5%, then maybe it kind of covers a little bit for what's happening at quarterback. And then maybe you're better overall because of that, in a way where if Steve comes out of that game completely healthy and you dominated Clemson, maybe you're a little deceived into thinking you're better than you are, and you don't make those kinds of adjustments or corrections.
We asked this question to Fran. I'm sure you've been getting this question a lot as well, about does the offense change with Rickie Collins running the show opposed to Steve Angeli? And, Fran said our offense is our offense and Rickie's going to be fine. And I would expect him to say that. If there is something that we're going to notice to the naked eye on Saturday that is different, what do you think it would be? Or do you think it's just going to look the same as it did with Steve out there?
I think it'll look pretty similar. My understanding is that certainly is going to be their approach. The thing that I will be looking for Saturday is, do they call the types of plays, especially early in the game, that are kind of no-brainers, that are layups, that are quicker reads, that are things that they can script, rehearse, or whatever to get Rickie off to a good start. So we've talked quite a bit, especially this year, about the offense and what Jeff Nixon brings to the table, which is really a huge part of it. That it's a take what the defense gives you type offense. Well, that means you're reading and you're reacting to what they do. Well, Manny Diaz is a longtime defensive coordinator. They can trick you into things. They can make you do what they want you to do sometimes. Well, does Rickie have the polish on that? Are there the types of plays or the packages that they can do that maybe give Rickie just an easier field to read or an easier look? Do you give Rickie a play off by snapping it to Dan Villari once or twice? That type of thing that maybe they lean on a little bit for a week or two here until Rickie feels fully fledged.
Let's talk about this opponent if we could. Duke comes in, just a 2-2 record, but you look a little bit deeper, and they lost to a really good Illinois team. They lost that kind of a rivalry type situation with Tulane, given the ties with the quarterback and some of the other players on the roster. But they're offensively, they've been very effective. They won 9 games a year ago. They've got a dynamic quarterback and a dynamic offense. What stands out to you the most about this Blue Devils team?
For me, it's experience, and maybe it's fresh in my mind. One of the last things I was doing last night is looking through their materials and how many career starts do these guys have. And my rule of thumb is if you've started for a year and a half, so if you have, let's say 16, 18 starts, I'm going to make a note of that. Well, it's like 12, 15 guys that have started a year and a half. They had double-digit returning starters. That's a luxury that not everybody had. And a guy like Mensah started a lot. It wasn't at Duke, but came in off a very productive season and was highly sought after. Their entire offensive line, for the most part, is experienced returning starter type people. They did lose a starter at middle linebacker off the last game against NC State. So I think they have seasoning. I think they have guys who've been there and done that, and were part of a successful team last year, winning 9 games. So that to me is one of their bigger things. I think it's what helps them rally from deficits. They were down 2 touchdowns against NC State, came back to win. So some of those things work in their favor.
We're expecting a sold-out crowd on Saturday, family weekend up on the hill. How big of a game is this, Matt, from a community standpoint and a crowd? They're going to have the crowd in front of them Saturday. To play well and to win this game, what would this do? What would this mean to the program? Again, from a community aspect and from a getting fans to come back for the next one, situation.
Yeah, I think it's big. I think we've lost sight of things, right? We don't talk about this. If they win this game, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it a 7-game home winning streak? And they'd be in first place in the conference. And they've won how many of our conference games in a row? Is it 4? Going back to last year, talking about Miami, Clemson, and Duke winning in the league. And that's what good teams do. It doesn't mean you're going to win the conference championship, but it means you're in pretty good shape for the end of September. I think when we were in August, we're like, well, wouldn't it be great to be 3-2 at the end of September? Well, they'll be 3-2 with a loss. They could be 4-1 with a win. You might not be able to tell. I did get my ears lowered here finally, which is a big project. Got my hair cut this morning. And it, like 4 other chairs, the guys are talking about football. I don't know if they could pick Yasin Willis out of a lineup. I don't know if they could name one starter on defense. But they have a visceral feeling of, hey, football's good. I like the coach. I like the buzz. The game's interesting. We took it to a Southern team that's a conference leader. So I think that momentum is huge, and it only continues with another win here.
And with that being said, Matt, last question from me. I mean, what does it ultimately come down to on Saturday inside the Dome, in your opinion?
We say the same thing every week. I do think this will be a closer game. I could see this really being a determined in the fourth quarter kind of game. So turnovers are obvious. Syracuse was +2 in the win against Clemson. That really helped, and they stole the possession with the onside kick. I'll go with red zone production. I think the winning team in this game gets 7, not 3.
All right. Well done. Anything from you, Paulie?
No,
you're good. Okay.
I'm exhausted from Rickie. Don't lose that fumble. I used to have my brain power.
You'll see Matt later tonight at the Fran Brown show.
Catch that on TK99.
There you go. All right, way to contribute to the interview. All right, Matt. Have a good show tonight. Have a good call on Saturday.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, Matt Park joining us here as he does every Thursday on the show. We'll hit a timeout. We'll wrap things up next.